So this is a story all about how Imu's life got flipped, turned upside down. So just like to take a minute and sit down, James. I'll tell you how Imu became the king of the world, man. So this is what happened, right? Imu, he sneaks in during the Void Century in his flying saucer with his Gorosei henchmen people. They come down like Frieza. They threaten to blow up the damn planet. They fight this advanced technology race. They win. Ultimately, it's a very slim victory. And now Imu is sitting on top of the throne and currently telling these old men what to do, who then tell other old men what to do, who then tell, I guess, Akainu what to do and everybody else. And then everybody just does what they say. And then now we have slavery. The end.
Wow.
Except that's not the end, son. So here's what's going to happen here. We're going to be going into this chapter, delving into everything, and I do want to discuss a very serious note, because what I said in that little stupid thing I just did, I'm serious. That's not a devil fruit. Those are not devil fruit powers, and by the end of this video, I will convince you, or my name isn't Larry, and it's not. Okay? So let's go ahead and actually get into this chapter. Before we begin, my name is Richard. This is my wife, Claire.
Hello.
Welcome to One Piece of a Dream. Let's go ahead and get into this, this thing. So, the chapter starts Frankie leading sea turtles into the ocean. Looks cute.
Very cute. I would even say super cute.
And I would even say super irrelevant to the chapter, because the chapter itself is completely not cute. But this is a fan request. This isn't like it's an actual cover story. Although it would be interesting if Frankie did have this whole story about leading sea turtles off into the ocean and just becoming a marine wildlife rescuer. But ultimately, the chapter begins with King Cobra freaking out because Imu has sat down on the throne. And he obviously doesn't know who Imu is. Imu introduces themselves as Mu. King Cobra kind of immediately recognizes this name as Imu and says, "Hey, you're one of the 20 founding kings." He's like, "Shut up, I won't be answering that question." And Cobra's like, "Damn, man, chill. Fine. Whatever, just go off." So Imu starts cooking, and Imu starts telling King Cobra shit. So Imu's like, "Okay, look, so here's my question for you." Well, actually, it's not, he first starts by explaining things. It's not an immediate question. He starts by explaining that Queen Lily, she sent poneglyphs all over the world, and basically screwed up everything, so it's a massive blunder. By the way, there is a lot of chess references in this chapter, and I find that very interesting, because I play a lot of chess, and I kind of think it's pretty neat to see the terminology just thrown in. I think it's probably because it's the world government versus the Revolutionary Army, and their pieces are moving, and we kind of get a direct sort of, I guess you could say, hint to that with the attack that Sabo throws later, and everything that goes down. But more importantly is this discussion about the D's. So Imu explains that the D's are a husk of what they used to be. They're more prevalent lately than the past 800 years, but now that they've all shown up, they don't remember who they are. They don't know what their name means. They're really just kind of people with a D in their name. They're not really doing anything against the world government. Well, other than Luffy, who declared war against them a long time ago, but he's not directly attacking them. Monkey D. Dragon, though, he is declaring war against the world government, and I think that Monkey D. Dragon's going to be much more important than what we're giving him credit for later, because obviously if he leads the revolutionaries, what if Luffy joins up with his father and the rest of the D clan? Because we learn here that the D's are all related, like they're all enemies of the world government directly. It's not like, yes, they have conflicts now because they don't know who they are, but if the D's learn and remember who they actually are, we could see Luffy and Blackbeard fighting on the same team against Imu. Ultimately, they may still fight at some point, and I think that the way this is probably going to go is Luffy and Blackbeard will fight before fighting Imu, but still, point being, they could end up teaming up at some point. We could see Sun God Nika and the Yami Yami no Mi user and Tremor Fruit user and whatever else he manages to get team together, along with Law and all the other D names, including Condoliano or whatever the hell his name is. We could see all of them working together and taking down the world government and Imu.
Luffy and Marshall D. Teach working together just does not sit right with me.
Well, you know what doesn't sit right with me? The fact that Imu, being Imu, knowing the history of the D, allowed any D members to join the Navy, because obviously Garp wants reform, and his middle name is a D, but he's literally the hero of the Marines, the fighting force for the world government. Somehow, they thought it a good idea to give this man a vice admiral position, and even at certain points on several occasions offer him fleet admiral.
I guess he probably just thought it would be fine.
I don't know. Maybe Imu just doesn't care. It seems like Imu doesn't really feel that threatened here. It seems like the One Piece is starting to shape up to be something that actually could add up to be like a weapon that could potentially free the world from Imu's grasp. Because Queen Nefertari D. Lily, she seems to be responsible for whatever the One Piece is. She's responsible for the poneglyphs. She clearly must have worked with Joy Boy at some point, according to the words that Imu spits here. And he basically confirms that this was either a massive blunder on Queen Nefertari D. Lily's part, or, which is a chess term, by the way, we're getting into the chess terminology now, or Queen Lily had a D in her name, he didn't know it, and Queen Lily actually did this on purpose to help put a stop to Imu's threat to the entire world, because Imu is a massive threat. So basically, this is what happens. The Gorosei immediately pull guns on King Cobra that they don't even use. I don't even know what the purpose of that was.
No purpose, just to do it.
So basically, Imu asks Cobra what the name of the sender of this letter was, and Cobra answers that it was Nefertari D. Lily, and that was the wrong answer, apparently, because Imu immediately fires a shadow arrow directly at King Cobra, and it hits him, puts a big hole in him, and this is resulting in Sabo showing up trying to defend him. Sabo didn't grab him in time to stop it, but Sabo did show up to try to help King Cobra, but King Cobra was already doomed at this point. I mean, he hit a big hole in him. The man's in a wheelchair and sick and dying already. He's not a fighter.
He wasn't making it regardless.
Yeah, he was done. This is over for Cobra at this point. But essentially what happens here is, after this whole discussion about the D-Clan, Nefertari D. Lily, the explanation that Imu has the same name as one of the 20 kings, Imu then transforms and turns into this giant shadow creature. The Gorosei do the exact same thing, and people are thinking that this is a devil fruit. Well, I'm here to tell you right now, no. This is the opposite. This is an inherent ability. I think that what we're looking at is almost certainly shape-shifting shadow aliens, and I have every reason to believe that this is why Oda was wearing an alien mask in Volume 1 of One Piece. The reason I say that is because, for one, Oda did say he referenced a lot of this material, but I want to point out some very obvious things about the world government that point to this. First of all, if you've ever looked at the world government symbol on the empty throne, it just hit me a couple days ago that that symbol happens to be an attempt at squaring the circle. And there's a very famous crop circle that happens to look an awful lot like this symbol. And if you do square the circle in this way, it's actually, I believe, as close as you could get, I think. I could be wrong, but I'd have to check. But I'm pretty sure it's very close, but it's still impossible to do because pi is an irrational number. So what we see is it's basically an explanation here, inadvertently on Oda's part, where you see this symbol, and it's supposed to represent the fact nobody could sit there because this is an unsolvable equation, therefore we couldn't figure out who should rule the world, so therefore nobody should, and it's impossible, as Cobra says, for anybody to sit in that throne seat. So, Imu sitting there, violating everything, and simply doing what he wants, has found a way to violate this impossible equation. I guess Imu might not even have made this symbol, but ultimately, there's more to this, because Imu, whether he made it or not, is irrelevant, because this symbol is very correlated to crop circles, which are very correlated to UFOs, and it's a very strong belief by people that UFOs make these circles, and there's actually a lot of evidence to show that there is a strong possibility that unknown forces do make them. I'm not going to sit here and try to delve into the theory behind crop circles and the information out there. You can look that up yourself. There's a lot of information out there on it.
Form your own opinion on that one.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the actual equation that's shown on this chair, drawn out as a symbol for the world government. And ultimately, Imu, it makes a lot more sense if he is some sort of shape-shifting shadow alien, because after Sabo tries to save Cobra, he fires this flame attack at Imu, and the Gorosei as well. He used the fire fist at the Gorosei. Obviously, none of this does anything. And this attack he throws at Imu is called Rook's Gambit. Yet another chess reference. If you know what a gambit is, it's very fitting for this situation because you sacrifice a piece to gain some sort of tactical advantage. And ultimately, Sabo ends up having to sacrifice King Cobra, whether he wanted to or not, because he very clearly didn't, so that he could gain the advantage of the knowledge of Imu and the Gorosei's true forms, what's actually going on in the world government, and get that information to Dragon and the Revolutionary Army so they can disperse that information to the entire world. So, here's what's really going down right now. There is a reference that this top of the world is the most hellish portion of the world. That is what Sabo says. He couldn't imagine that it is this hellish up here, because, as you can see, the Gorosei, well as Imu, have turned into these really crazy creatures. And you could try to say, oh, mythical zones. I don't think so. I think that what we're seeing is their actual appearance. I don't think these are silhouettes. I think that just looking at the power of the shadow arrow, just an example, it makes a lot of sense if you have seen other things before where people fire like shadow arrows and stuff like that in other series. It just makes sense that this could just be their inherent abilities. And there's a lot of stuff referencing the moon. There's sci-fi stuff with the dark side of the moon where people believe there's like, you know, alien bases there and stuff. So I mean, ultimately, you could still throw in the idea that maybe this is from a dark side of the moon or one of One Piece's multiple moons, and maybe these creatures came from a moon, came down to Earth, and were like the enemies of the Lunarians, which is why they ended up taking over the spot that the Lunarians were currently occupying. So I could see this making a lot of sense if Imu were to be inherently against them and already wanting to take over this world, and the Gorosei as well, obviously. If they just transformed into these sort of shapes, I mean, Oda can't just draw giant blobs. He's got to make them look somewhat horrifying. So, of course, he's got to make them look like this. And it doesn't make sense that they would still be silhouetted, especially Imu, when everything else that's around them is lit up. I don't think what we're seeing is a silhouette. I think that Imu is a literal shadow person. The Gorosei are shape-shifting shadow people, and that they invaded during the Void Century. And come on, how crazy is it? Have you seen Egghead Island? Look at the place. Vegapunk's technology is so futuristic. You're telling me that there is no hints there that there is a possible chance that these beings could potentially be aliens of some kind. And Vegapunk could have a huge role in actually fighting him. What if you literally cannot punch them even with hockey? What if you need something like, say, the light gloves, maybe converted by Vegapunk into like the shadow gloves or something to actually manage to land a punch on these guys? But the really big important thing here is that flame, which Sabo threw at Imu, he consumes it. He eats it. And I think that's a big hint as to what we're looking at. I think that we're looking at, like, shadow creatures that can literally eat devil fruit powers or dreams, just like how Blackbeard's devil fruit can eat devil fruit powers with gravity and whatever else. I think that these people can literally consume any form of light or dreams or anything like that, any positivity, which would explain why they are so inherently evil and the world is stuck where it's at. And if technology were to have existed that would ultimately be able to rival them, then it would make a lot of sense that they would be super, super upset with Vegapunk for coming close to unlocking that technology, wanting to put a stop to this right away. And if they can't keep the man obedient, then they're obviously not going to keep him around. Imu is very clearly probably immortal, and it would make a lot of sense if the Gorosei and Imu all being immortal were also aliens with a longer lifespan. Maybe not even immortal. Maybe they just live for a really, really, really long time, and they've been ruling behind closed doors. I mean, if you think about it, a one-world government is a very big theory within... How do I say this without getting completely demoted by YouTube?
Be careful.
Yeah, well, it's a big theory within... hold on. How do I say this? Oh yeah, look at my shirt. This. It's a theory in this, if you have any idea what that means. If you don't, then you might want to look up ILLUMANTI. That is literally what Imu and the Gorosei are like acting as. Like a one world ruler. That is so directly taken from that theory, it's not even funny. And suddenly, Oda's alien mask is seeming a lot less crazy. Now, I know you guys are probably going to think this is a outlandish and ridiculous theory, and fine, I can totally understand that, but I think that what we're going to see is that Oda really did use this in the story, because One Piece is slowly becoming a sci-fi. We have cloning technology, we've had aliens, we've had this crazy amount of stuff that Vegapunk has made. Is it really that far-fetched to say Imu could be a shape-shifting alien? Come on!
I don't think it's that far-fetched. I mean, it does sound absolutely insane, but it makes sense.
We're talking about One Piece here. Nothing in One Piece is realistic. The main character was a rubber man that could stretch 72 Gumu Gumus for like the longest time and is now a sun god who quite literally is Joy Boy and can create sunglasses out of his hair. And you're telling me that aliens are outlandish? No. I promise you it's more logical than you're probably thinking, and I think that we're going to see that's the case. I think that that was the ultimate enemy. It also, it would explain, too, why the celestial dragons are called celestial dragons, why the Gorosei are named after planets, why the ancient weapons are named after planets. Suddenly it all starts to make sense that these were undercover aliens infiltrating their way into the world, and ultimately Emu, being behind this Void Century war, is now upset over this because Queen Nefertari D. Lily knew this and tried to put a stop to it the only way that she could. Because Emu's powers seem frighteningly insane. And Emu, if Emu can consume Devil Fruit powers, would be an unbelievably hard opponent for anyone to beat. Only a god would be able to take down a shadow alien creature, particularly a sun god who could actually shine their light onto this abomination of a shadow being. But after this whole confrontation with the Gorosei, Sabo gets hit with another arrow as well because they throw another arrow, and Cobra sacrifices himself to have Sabo, or Sadibo, as Ace and Luffy call him in a flashback here, go deliver a message to Vivi and Luffy that we are deep. Then from here, Sabo leaves and we go to see Wapol was witnessing all of this. And Wapol's like, I didn't need to see that. I didn't want to see that. Oh my god, I'm running. He starts running and he runs into the room where Vivi is currently being held hostage by Khalifa and the other CP0 agents who I don't care.
The wolf one, I can't remember his name. But...
Yeah, I don't care. I just like Khalifa because she's kind of hot. But ultimately, she's being held hostage. Vivi's like, how's Shirahoshi? Shirahoshi also wanted to speak with her, but obviously didn't show up. They're starting the Reverie meeting without her and Wapol. But essentially, Wapol goes, eats through the wall, inadvertently grabs up Vivi, and then Vivi's in his mouth running, and we end the chapter on a note of Cinderella seeing these two running, and essentially, Vivi's like, hey, Wapol, where are we going? He's like, I don't care, to the end of the world, I'm gonna run where they can't get me. And then Cinderella's like, Vivi's like, take me with you. Cinderella's like, are they eloping? I mean, yeah, it's funny, but like, after what just happened in the Gorosei room...
It seems kind of out of place.
Yeah, a little bit. But ultimately, look, feel free to say whatever you want in the comments, think it's crazy, I don't care. I mean, you can tell me what your thoughts on this are, if you really think they're devil fruits. By the way, the reptilian-looking one that people are saying appears to have an awakened ring around his neck, it's not really silhouetted as an awakened ring. It just looks kind of solid. It doesn't look like clouds. So, in all honesty, I can see that not being anything related to that. I think that's either just a part of the overall appearance, a hint that they are some sort of alien-like creatures, maybe based on some sort of animal form that they take when they turn to their shadow forms, or something else. I mean, you gotta think about this. Why would they be silhouetted when Sabo's throwing fire? There's literally fire in the same room, and they're still silhouetted. Oda may be the king of silhouettes, but he's not illogical. So I think that what we are seeing here, logically speaking, is not silhouettes. These are the true forms of the Gorosei and Emu. These are what they actually look like. And Emu being massive in the way that he is, it kind of reminds me of something I can't remember. Some sort of, I don't know, like a cryptid or something that I can't remember the name of. I don't know, or maybe it was a Japanese folklore creature. I cannot quite remember what it is. But Emu reminds me of something that I've seen before. And ultimately, Emu is very much a disturbing creature in himself, and clearly
terrifying.
Yeah, and he's clearly stronger than the Gorosei. And don't get me wrong, we're about to see what Saint J. Garcia Saturn can do when he heads to Egghead. I promise you that much, because Luffy is going to end up fighting this man. Anyway, that's all we got for you with this chapter. We hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, maybe watch another video pop up on screen right now. Remember to leave your comments down in the description. Let us know what you guys think of it. And remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, tap the notification bell. And yeah, that's pretty much all we got for you guys. See you guys in the next video. Peace.
Bye.